Hello there Monster Gamers, and welcome to this Creativerse tutorial. And today I'll be showing you how to manufacture an infinite number of blocks with some clever wiring and block phasers. But before I do that, I shall just quickly flip this switch and show you what I mean. As you can see in my inventory hotbar at the moment, I have 8 lumite blocks. I'll just pick these up. So that's doubled to 16. I'll pop this switch again. But they're all back. And after a short while, you'll be able to do that again and keep doing that continuously until you've manufactured the number of blocks that you need. But I hear you say, exploit, cheat. Well, I'm not so sure about that. I'm in two minds as to whether it's an exploit or it's a game mechanic. And the reasoning behind that, what I'll do is wait till the end of this video and I'll explain to you why I think it actually might be a game mechanic rather than an exploit. So until then, what we'll do is get on with the mechanics of it and how to wire it. Okay, so what you'll need are one switch, one inverter gate, one logic gate, one delay gate initially, one block phaser, and 8 blocks of your choice. So I'll just pop all these into my inventory. Okay. Just a fairly simple setup. What we do is we pop a block phaser down. Let's just move it round. Pop down a blocks. Make sure you've got your wiring tool equipped. Go into the block phaser, and for those who don't know how to do that, just look at the phaser, press N and it will open up the settings menu. Highlight those blocks, save it, and that's that bit done. What we need to do now is pop down a switch, then a delay gate, then your inverter gate, and then your logic gate. So the settings for these: your delay gate is set to just half a second delay. The rest of them just leave as they are. The wiring from your delay gate, wire that to your inverter gate, wire your inverter gate to your logic gate, wire your logic gate, you guessed it, to your block phaser, and then finally wire up your switch straight to your delay gate. And that is it. It is as simple as that, the wiring for this rather special manufacturing system. So now if I flick this switch, normally what would happen when you engage a block phaser is the block phaser would shrink into its engaged state, and these blocks would disappear. Because we've wired it through this system, that hasn't happened. The blocks have remained. We can now pick up those blocks, and as you can see, they've gone back into my inventory down the bottom. Disengage the block phaser, which would usually make blocks reappear, and in this case it does make the blocks reappear. And that really is it. Why does it work? Well, that's a good question. I've put some thought into that, and to tell you the truth, to be totally honest, I do not have a clue. I know it's to do with the wiring around the inverter gate and the logic gate, but I can't quite work out exactly why it happens. I first saw this happen in another video. I think it's from Nova Nation. It was a bit more complicated setup than this. They used 2 block phasers, one at each end, but after a bit of experiment and playing around, I discovered that the other block phaser actually served no purpose whatsoever, and this is the simplest wiring system I've found for this to work. Now you can set up as many block phasers to this system as you like. I've had half a dozen or so set up. different kinds of blocks, different variety of blocks in each row, as long as it's a block that a block phaser can identify and save in its memory. So it can't be any kind of machine, light, door, switch, storage device. So it can't be those, because block phasers don't recognize those when you put them in front of them. They can't be saved to their memory. So just ordinary blocks, slabs, anything really like that that a block phaser can remember, you can set this to work. Now, you can, as I said, you can set up multiple phasers to this. Just make sure you connect your logic gate to every one of the phasers, and that will continue working. One of the oddities about this setup is that you do need to wait, after the very first time you do it, you do need to wait up to about 3 minutes for it actually to work again. Now, let's just test. I've only done it once, so it may actually work. Now, before you harvest the blocks, ensure that you put this switch to on, then harvest. So, okay, this time they've gone into my inventory. We'll turn it off, and hopefully I'll be able to show you what I mean this time. So if I switch it back on straight away and harvest them, you'll see this time my inventory on my hotbar there remained at 16 blocks, and it didn't increase. So let's bring them back into existence again. So what's happening here is that the system needs to, I guess, sort of reboot. It takes round about 3 minutes for that to happen. I've found that time is a little bit variable, but if you work on 3 minutes, it's just about right. But I don't want to hang around 3 minutes, you might say. Well, that's why I have another 10 delay gates and an LED in the storage box ready to show you. So what I've done with this one over here is I've set up a very basic timer system with this. When I flick this switch on, it sends a signal through these 10 delay gates, and I have all these delay gates set at 10 seconds, their maximum delay. So in total I have, do my maths, 100 seconds. Had a complete mind fart there, sorry. So the delay for this LED turning green when I turn this switch on is 100 seconds. When I turn it off, another 100 seconds will pass before the LED switches off. So this way I know that once I've harvested these, I switch this switch back off because the light would have been green. Then in 100 seconds the LED will switch off. I then switch the switch back on, and in another 100 seconds the LED will turn green. So when the LED is green and this switch is on, I know that these should be ready to harvest. I probably didn't explain that too well, so what I'll do is I'll just quickly show you. So pop a block down of your choice. Let's stick an LED on that. We'll make it green. Green for go. We shall wire up this switch to this LED also. So if we switch that on now, that'll just come on, switch it off, it will go off. But we don't want that. What we want is there to be a delay that's equivalent of about 3 minutes. So I found 10 delay gates are about right. So what we'll do, set each one of those at the full 10-second delay. So just bear with me for a moment whilst I do this. There are probably better and more efficient ways to do timers in Creativerse, and if anybody knows one, please let me know in the comments. This is the simplest way I could find to do one, and it seems to, you know, it does what it needs. So connect all these delay gates to each other. like so. And then we still have that switch connected to that, so I'm going to break the connection to that switch, because this final delay gate will turn on and off this LED, and we will connect this switch to, if I press the right button, to our first delay gate. There. Now, when we switch that on, the signal will have to travel through all of these delay gates until it reaches this LED, and then it will turn it green. Now the time it's taken us to actually set up this timer, and the time it will take for this signal to go through to this LED, will probably be the right amount of time for us to harvest these blocks again. So I'll get right back to you in a moment when the LED turns green. Okay, welcome back. So our LED has now turned green after the signal's gone from the switch and through all of these delay gates, taking about 100 seconds. So now we know LED's green, switch is on, these blocks should be ready to harvest. So if we look at the inventory count, I've got 15 iron blocks in there at the moment. We harvest those, and I've gone up by another 8. Now, to start the timer off, we switch off our system, which brings back our blocks. This has also sent the off signal to the LED through these series of delay gates. It takes 100 seconds, the LED will switch off. Once both these are off, we know we can start the cycle again. We then switch the switch on, send the signal through all the delay gates for another 100 seconds, which will eventually turn the LED green again. So once our LED is green and our switch is on, we know we've waited round about 3 minutes, and we should be ready to harvest these once more. Here's one I prepared earlier. Switch is on, LED's green, we should be able to harvest these lumite blocks. I currently have 16 in my inventory, so if I grab these, I now have 24. Start the process again, and there we go. So there you have it. A fairly simple, effective way of manufacturing pretty much infinite blocks. Extremely useful for various reasons, especially if you're making iron or lumite blocks. Iron and lumite can be a pain to get hold of. They're expensive blocks to make, so if you can actually manufacture them like this, it can save you an incredible amount of time gathering resources, and it can actually save you a lot of resources too. So, why is this not an exploit? I now hear you ask again. Well, what I'll do is I'm going to demonstrate something to you, which when I first saw, I said, surely this is an exploit. But in actual fact, it isn't. It's a game mechanic. So what I have here is a wall of tar. I've put some tar blocks up here. The walls, the tar's now falling in a kind of tar fall down here. And as some of you will probably be aware, if you throw a freeze bomb onto tar, it will instantly turn to coal. If you then throw a fire bomb, it will turn to diamond. And it's a very simple, effective way of manufacturing infinite amount of coal and infinite amount of diamonds. Is that an exploit? No, in actual fact that is actually a game mechanic. It does feel like an exploit when you first do it, but it isn't. That's why I think this is actually probably, it's more likely a game mechanic than an exploit. I think there's probably a lot of things we can do with the machines and the wiring in Creativerse that we're still discovering at the moment. It's a fairly new game still, 3 years old, only just come out of development. So lots of people are still discovering things that we can do, cool things that we can do, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if this is actually a deliberate game mechanic by Plateful. But it would be great to hear from one of the game developers as well as to whether this is something that should be in the game or whether it's something they'll eventually remove. But until then, I'm going to err on the side of positivity and go with block manufacturing as a game mechanic. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, hope you found it useful. Please leave a like if you did. Please subscribe. Also leave comments below to tell me what you think, whether you think this is an exploit or a game mechanic, whether you think it should remain or go. And I'll answer as many of your comments as I can. Thank you for watching. Bye!